Welcome to Cell Biology. Today, we're going to explore one of the most fascinating and crucial structures inside our cells, known as intermediate filaments. Imagine a microscopic skeleton that keeps your cells from tearing apart every time you move or stretch. That is exactly what we will uncover today. Let us dive right in and discover how these amazing structures work. To understand why these structures are so important, let us imagine a medieval castle under siege. The walls need to withstand massive boulders crashing into them without crumbling to dust. In the microscopic world of our bodies, our cells face similar physical crushing and pulling forces every single day. To survive this constant stress, cells have a built-in system of flexible, incredibly strong steel-like cables crisscrossing through their interior. These microscopic cables are called intermediate filaments, and they are the ultimate shock absorbers of the cell. Without them, a simple high five would cause your skin cells to physically tear apart and rupture. Now that we understand their purpose, let us look at their formal biological definition. Intermediate filaments are a primary component of the eukaryotic cytoskeleton. They measure approximately 10 nanometers in diameter. This specific diameter is exactly intermediate, or halfway, between the thinner actin microfilaments and the thicker microtubules. Unlike other cytoskeletal elements that are built from round, globular proteins, intermediate filaments are constructed from elongated, fibrous proteins. These proteins twist together like strands of a heavy-duty rope. Instead of acting as tracks for motor proteins, they form a stable, resilient scaffold throughout the cytoplasm and inside the nucleus to maintain cellular architecture. Knowing what they are made of leads us to how they are built. Intermediate filaments assemble hierarchically, step by step. First, individual fibrous proteins, called monomers, twist together to form dimers. Next, these dimers stagger and combine to form tetramers. Finally, these tetramers bundle together to create what we call unit-length filaments. A very important feature of this assembly is that they lack structural polarity. This means they do not have distinct plus and minus ends like other filaments do. Because of this lack of polarity, they cannot serve as directional tracks for motor proteins, which perfectly suits their role as purely structural cables. Let us visualize this step-by-step assembly process. Looking at the diagram, starting from the top, you can see a single fibrous protein, the monomer. Moving down, two monomers twist around each other to form a dimer, much like twisting two wires together. Below that, you see the tetramer, where dimers overlap in a staggered formation, increasing the strength. Further down, these tetramers bundle into a thicker cylinder, the unit-length filament. Finally, at the bottom, these units link end to end to form the complete 10 nanometer wide intermediate filament. This rope-like structure is exactly what gives the filament its incredible mechanical strength. Seeing how they assemble helps us appreciate their role in our bodies. The importance of intermediate filaments cannot be overstated when it comes to the physical integrity of multicellular organisms. In real life, they are the reason your skin is tough and your muscles do not rip apart. Different tissues use different types to suit their specific needs. For example, epithelial cells use keratins, while neurons use neurofilaments. A tragic real-world example is the genetic disease epidermolysis bullosa simplex. Here, a mutation in keratin genes causes the skin to blister and peel off at the slightest touch. Furthermore, a specialized type, called the nuclear lamina, forms a protective cage around the cell's DNA, ensuring the nucleus does not collapse. To truly appreciate this mechanical role, we can look at how physicists measure their strength. We use the concept of tensile stress, which measures how much pulling force a material can handle before it snaps. The formula for this is sigma equals F divided by A. Conceptually, this tells us the pressure endured during cellular stretching. Sigma represents the tensile stress experienced by the filament, measured in pascals. F represents the pulling force applied, measured in newtons. A represents the cross-sectional area of the filament, measured in square meters. If the pulling force F increases, the stress on the filament increases, making it more likely to break. However, if filaments bundle together to increase their total area, A, they effectively reduce the overall stress. Before we move on, let us see this formula in action with a concrete example. Imagine a skin cell is being stretched. We are given a pulling force of 3.14 times 10 to the negative 10 newtons applied to a keratin filament with a radius of 5 times 10 to the negative 9 meters. We need to find the tensile stress. First, we calculate the cross-sectional area using the formula for the area of a circle, pi times radius squared. Squaring the radius and multiplying by pi gives us an incredibly small area of 7.85 times 10 to the negative 17 square meters. Next, we divide the given force by this calculated area. The final answer is 4 million pascals, or 4 megapascals. Physically, this means a single microscopic filament is withstanding pressure equivalent to the bottom of a deep ocean. Now that we have seen how strong a single filament is, let us explore how the cell builds them to a specific length. An intermediate filament is built by linking unit-length filaments end to end. To find out how many units are needed, we use the formula U equals L total divided by L ULF. Conceptually, this is just dividing the total distance by the size of one building block. U represents the number of unit-length filaments required. L total is the total desired length of the final cable spanning the cell. LULF is the effective length contributed by just one single unit. If the total length required by the cell increases, the number of units U must increase proportionally to bridge that gap. Let us apply this formula to see how many units a cell actually needs. We are given that a cell needs to build an intermediate filament that spans a total distance of 2,000 nanometers across its cytoplasm. We also know that the effective length of one unit-length filament is 40 nanometers. We are asked to find the total number of units required. We choose our formula, U equals L total divided by L ULF, because it perfectly relates total distance to unit size. We substitute 2,000 for the total length and 40 for the unit length. Dividing these numbers gives us our final answer of 50. Physically, this means the cell must link exactly 50 individual building blocks end to end to successfully span the required distance across the cytoplasm. Knowing the number of units brings us to our final question. How many individual proteins are required in total? To find this, we use the formula M equals U times N. Conceptually, since each unit is made of a fixed number of proteins, we just multiply the number of units by the proteins per unit. M represents the total number of individual protein monomers needed. U is the number of units we just calculated. N is the constant number of monomers contained in one single unit, which is typically 32. If the number of units U increases, the total material investment M increases significantly, showing how resource-intensive it is for the cell to build these massive structural cables. Let us calculate this final material investment using our previous result. We know from our last calculation that the cell needs 50 units to span the cytoplasm. We are given that each unit contains exactly 32 protein monomers. We are asked to find the total number of individual proteins required. We use the formula M equals U times N to scale up from units to individual proteins. We substitute 50 for U and 32 for N. Multiplying 50 by 32 gives us our final answer of 1,600. Physically, this means the cell must synthesize and assemble exactly 1,600 individual fibrous proteins just to create one single intermediate filament cable. This highlights the massive energy investment required for cellular stability. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the most important ideas. First, intermediate filaments are the essential rope-like structural cables that act as the cell's shock absorbers. Second, they assemble hierarchically from simple fibrous monomers into thick, overlapping bundles without structural polarity. Finally, they provide immense mechanical strength to eukaryotic cells, preventing them from tearing under physical stress. Whether it is keratin protecting your skin or the nuclear lamina safeguarding your DNA, these nanometer filaments are the unsung heroes of cellular durability. You now have a solid understanding of both their biological structure and their mathematical strength. Great job!